Okay, so picture this. You're working on a landscape painting, a bit like this one here. And you've got this part getting close to being finished. You've been working on the sky. This area over here is almost finished. But what the hell is that? How do you go from this to this? Well, maybe not this. Well, imagine this, but without the ugly building and with loads of leaves on it. Something like that. Actually, I couldn't find a decent tree. It's winter, there's nothing much around here, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, maybe that was a bad example. But I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that in this video. So what do we actually have here? Okay, so this area of trees, this is what we're going to be working on. This is just the blocked in stage. So this is the first layer of paint that I've put down. It's completely dry. In fact, this was acrylics. We're going to be working in oil now. This was completely dry, but what we have is just a solid or mass of green colour. We need to try and make that look like a tree. We need to cover over little bits of the sky here. We need to maybe introduce a little bit of the background into this just to make it look less solid. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But the first stage is to add the dark. So this is blocked in a middle tone. We are going to add the lowlights, then we are going to add the highlights. So in order to add those darker shades, I'm going to be concentrating mainly to begin with on the tree and texture brushes. These are the Series 3 brushes that are available on my store. So I'm going to use the larger one to begin with, and we're just going to start now adding texture, basically, some darker paint in texture. Now the beauty with these brushes is if you tap, because of the nature of the brush, what you get lots of tiny little dots of that darker colour. And what that's doing is it's giving us the details that we need in this tree here. Now you can add as much of this dark colour as you need to. I'm going to be quite sparing to begin with, and I'm not actually brushing the paint on at this point. I'm just tapping the surface. So just pushing down a little bit of pressure, not enough that you just get one large brush stroke, but we want lots of little bits. Once we've gone over pretty much the whole area of these trees, we can then go over again, maybe with the smaller tree and texture brush, just to find those areas, or to define the areas that are a little bit more dark. So now we've got that completely covered. It's actually starting to look like trees, but what we need to do now is, just like we have here, we need to find out where we want the majority of the dark, because at the moment it's just still looking sort of relatively flat. We need just some more density of those dark areas. So I'm just going to go over, just looking for those, and we're just going to continue with the same technique, but just going over and over. So we're doing more little brush marks, trying to get that sort of area of darkness. For example, in there, maybe there's another one over here, and definitely on the lower side of the tree, on the underside, where you're bound to get more shadows cast. Okay, so what you need to be careful of is that you don't cover it over so much that it just becomes one dark mass. We only need to add the darks where we can see them in the reference photograph. So now we've done that, what we can do is we can start adding some tree trunks and some branches, and then we're going to get the outside edge of these trees in place, because at the moment they look very solid. They look like they've been clipped and trimmed, so a very solid line. We need to break that up. We're going to move over to a different brush now. We're going to move over to the rigger brush to get these branches in place. Okay, so this is one of the newer brushes in our collection. This is the Series 1, size 5.0. It's much skinnier than a lot of the other brushes. that you'll have seen me use in the past. We actually have one that's skinnier than even this, but this will be absolutely fine for doing these small little trunks and branches that we can see in this area of trees here. So first of all, I'm going to go in with a slightly darker colour and build up some of these tree trunks. So I'm actually going to bring this tree here, I'm going to bring the trunks down to about there. So I've thinned the paint a bit with some linseed oil, just so that we can get a nice sharp flow of paint. So just using the very tip of the brush. So we've added the darker colours. I mean, it's quite dense, the tree, so you don't need to add too many of these darks. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to add a few sort of more middle tone colours in there. And really, we're just putting in little flecks of this. We're not running down the whole of the tree trunk here, just putting in flecks. In particular, maybe even in the darker areas that we have up here. And actually, let's add a little more dark for this tree here. We have a tree trunk coming sort of down in this area. Okay, now we've done that, what I'm going to do is just add a few more of these areas of tree, just sort of spanning in over the sky and just over some of the background. And then if need be, we can then reverse that by adding some background into the body of the tree, so it doesn't look quite so solid. So I think we're going to continue with the same rigger brush for now, because the brush marks that we're going to put in are really quite small. Very much as we would if we were using a pencil or a pen, we're kind of just sketching these darker little areas of leaf just above the tree. Okay, so once we've got that look going on, which they are looking like trees, they're not looking too bad. It's just really the last little bit we need to do, which is to add the highlights. And we're going to do that. There are many ways to do it. There are many different brushes we can use and techniques we can use. But something that's quite effective is to use the Series 4. This is the smaller of the Series 4, the 0. And we're going to use just this tip of the brush, just that top corner there. We're going to load the paint up on there, and we're going to use that just to touch the surface, and it's going to give us almost a triangular effect. So let's mix up a lighter colour and we'll get working on that. Okay, so we've got that lighter colour, and we're just going to use the very corner, and it's just going to put just really small little dots on there. I am loading the colour up, so there's no thinner on this, there's no medium with it, and I'm just trying to use that corner just to get a one little touch on there, and it's giving us, as I said, almost like a canopy look, but it's tiny, tiny little dots. I think that's the key with this, is to try and make those little brush marks as small as possible. As I say, load that brush up, get plenty of paint on there, and then just touch that surface. Now we may need to mix up a different colour. These are probably not the lightest colours that I'm putting on now, but they're kind of nearly there. We may need to go a little bit lighter even than this, and I'm just going to go almost over the whole area with this, just picking out where I want the highlights to be. Okay, so that's one way of doing that. There is another way, which is a little bit more time consuming, but very effective. And it gives you more of an opportunity to be more particular, I suppose, about where you put your paint, where you're applying your paint, that the fan brush doesn't really give you. So series 1, this is the size 1, the rigger brush, the larger rigger brush, or one of the larger rigger brushes to the one that we used with the trunk, and you can get the same little corner of the brush to get that slight triangle, but you're doing one brush mark. It just gives you the opportunity to be more accurate with where you're putting the paint. It is more time consuming, that is the one thing I will say, but it's certainly worth trying it and working out which way you prefer. So we've now built up the main body of the trees and I'm pretty happy with them. I think one of the things we can do now is maybe start just to introduce a little bit of that blue distance colour just inside here, just so that it doesn't look quite so solid. And we're mainly going to do it sort of nearer the tops of those trees there. So we don't need to do too much. And then to this area here, we can just bring in some of the warmer hillside here, just over in the trees. Okay, so that is that little group of trees there finished. Hopefully you'll agree that that is a super easy way of painting really effective trees. I will say there's loads and loads and loads, I mean it's hundreds of hours of instruction on my online school, my online painting school, www.michaeljamessmith.tv. All the brushes and the panel that I'm using here are also available in my shop, www.shopmichaeljamessmith.com. All the links are below anyway. Hope you enjoyed that. In the next video, I'm going to be working on another bit of this painting. So just hold out for that. Give it a thumbs up if you haven't already. Subscribe so that you don't miss any further videos. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. So take care everybody, happy painting, and I shall see you soon. Bye for now.